Welcome back, everybody. Today we have another great video and we're going to dive into something that's going to help out our junior colleagues a little bit more. And that's talking about the hard truths of doing a PhD. What I want to do is discuss what I think are, four areas really that I never really heard anyone talk about before, but I realized as I was going through graduate school that these are things that, really do make a difference. If you've gone through any of these, comment down below. Let's get a list going for those junior graduate students that are just starting, finding their way, and let's see if we could help them out. So the first thing on my list is that your professor is going to determine your success in graduate school. Now, before people start freaking out and saying, whoa, I actually think that I determine my success. Yes, of course. You're going to be the main driver of your success. However, I think that what people don't want to acknowledge is that your particular PI is going to help drive your success a heck of a lot more than what you're going to give it credit for. So I'll use myself as a personal example. When I did my PhD, I was in a lab with a very big name PI, very big in the field. And when I was in that lab, I was able to publish multiple papers because he had really good working models. I was able to get a lot of co-authorships because the group was constantly working on different projects with a lot of collaborators, so I was able to do that. He was often invited to write review articles and was nice enough to let me co-author or even sometimes be first author on those review articles. I got to know a lot of people and build a really great network, give oral presentations. Ultimately, everything kind of came together in a package where I was fortunate enough to, when I applied for a postdoc, I applied for one at MIT and a couple at Harvard and Harvard Medical School, and that was it. A very small amount of postdoc applications actually went out, and I had, interest basically from all of them, and, ended up doing my postdoc at Harvard Medical School. Now, before I was in this lab, I actually spent a short amount of time doing work in a different lab. And this lab had quite a toxic environment. And that's really the reason that I left, was that it just wasn't working for me and it wasn't working for the PI. It just wasn't a good match. I think if I would have stayed in that lab, I still would have been able to get my degree and I still would have been able to do a postdoc and I would have been able to find my own success within my career. But would I have ended up at Harvard? I don't honestly believe so. And that's just a hard truth of the matter, is that, I'm found success and I would find success in different labs. However, one of the reasons I found as much success as I did and what's kind of set me up pretty well in my career was the PI that I did graduate school with. And that's just one of the truths of doing graduate school, is that, you may be in a lab and notice that your buddy over on the side, they're in a different lab and that lab is a big name and they just are going to have more opportunities presented to them. And that's just something that isn't really spoken about, but really is a truth about, success coming out of graduate school. Another thing that I want to talk about is the constant line that you're going to walk between competitiveness and needing those around you. So let me explain. As you go through graduate school, and this also will apply for a postdoc as well, you are going to be walking this fine line. On one hand, you're really, really going to need those around you, especially as a junior graduate student. You're going to need to learn about prelim exams or qualifying exams, about classes, about finishing up your credits, about formatting your dissertation, about, which professors do I need to put on my committee? There's all kinds of things that you're going to need help with. And then that doesn't even get into the fact that when you're starting off in a lab, things aren't always going to work and you're going to need help just with the simple techniques in a lab. How do you run a Western blot? How do you do PCR? How do you do cell culture? Whatever it might be. On the other hand, though, there's a hyper competitiveness to doing a PhD. There's always this competitiveness of who's going to spend more time in the lab. There's sometimes some PIs will pit each other, graduate students or postdocs against each other to work on the same project and see who could, finish the project first or do it better. So you're gonna need to be able to walk this really delicate line of needing people so you could succeed, but also maintaining the distance that you need because of that competitive, nature that there is, and not wanting to be taken advantage of. And there's a lot of politics that go into this. And this is something that they really don't teach you. You think that just because you're not in a business setting that some of these, the politics of the office go away, and they really don't. They're quite real, and they're quite there, and you really need to learn how to walk that fine line. Another thing that I want to talk about is the amount of time that you're going to spend in the lab. So I think a lot of people, when they start doing their PhD, think that it's going to be very similar to undergrad. You're going to go to class, you're going to go do some research, and you'll be there from 9 to 5, and then you could go home, maybe do a little bit of studying, and that's about it. And you think, oh, this is great. I go to work, I show up, I get my stipend, everything is really nice. And what you don't realize is that it's not going to be a 40-hour work week. It hardly ever will be, actually. As you do grad school and a postdoc, it's almost always going to be more than 40 hours a week. And it's going to be really hard to explain to your peers and to your parents and friends that, you're still in school, yeah, but it's not like school what you're used to. It's not you just show up to class and take a test and then you're done. There's quite a lot that goes into it. And you're going to be constantly working, and you're going to constantly be needing to put in overtime. And this is just one of those things I think that the really junior people are just not totally prepared for. The final truth is that it's the most rewarding thing. And I know this is kind of like a cop-out, kind of gimme, but what I want to say is that the reward is more than just feeling good about yourself that you are able to finish a PhD. So one of the things that I've actually talked to people about, and I think is a common occurrence across people that do a PhD, is that it's more than just the science. When you do a PhD, whether it's in a lab meeting, a one-on-one with a PI, a department meeting, whatever it is, there's going to be a lot of times. And at some point, it's going to hit you differently, where you get up and you give a talk and you're going to get completely torpedoed. What I mean by that is you're going to get up there and you're going to feel like you're the stupidest person in the room. You're going to have people left, right, and the other, basically, pooping all over your work. And this is something that happens to everybody when they do their PhD. Part of doing a PhD is being torn down and then being rebuilt up. And that's going to happen to everybody. And it could be humiliating, it could be exhausting, it could be mentally, taxing. But at the end of it, after you've been broken down and you start to realize what you know and realizing what you don't know, and you start rebuilding your way back up there, when you get to the end, it is really, really rewarding. Your outlook and views on the world will be forever changed, especially when you start factoring in things that have nothing to do with science. Like, for example, you may be traveling internationally to do your degree, or you may be within the same country, but you may be exposed to many different ideas and religions and perceptions that you never would have been. You're going to be challenged with new ideas. You're going to make friends with all different people you never thought that you would. And you're going to come out looking at the world differently. It's going to forever change you. And I think that this is something that just doesn't get talked about, is that a lot of people think that doing a PhD is like going to high school or college. And you go and you take classes and you study and yay, I got my degree when you're done. And that's not what it is. Doing a PhD, it's rewiring the brain. You're going to look at everything in the world differently, and there's no going back once you go through it. And so my advice is that, your PI might make a difference. There's going to be politics. There's going to be long hours. There's other unspoken truths that are out there that I didn't even cover in this video. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be worth it. So just keep plugging through, keep going. For anyone watching this video, you obviously care enough about your career to be searching for different topics related to doing a PhD. I think that just puts you ahead of everybody else, and I think that you're going to do a really great job. So with that, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. As always, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Make sure to leave comments below what you think about these truths, and let me know if there's any kind of questions that you guys have out there that I haven't addressed yet. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.